Have you ever wondered why we set limits in our lives, why we choose certain boundaries for ourselves, even when we know they might hold us back? Think about it, whether it's in our careers, relationships, or personal goals. We all draw invisible lines that we hesitate to cross. But why do we do this? Are these limits self-imposed, or is there something deeper at play? Let's explore why we set limits in our lives and what's really behind them. One of the biggest reasons we set limits is fear. Fear of failure. It's natural to want to protect ourselves from disappointment or embarrassment, but sometimes this fear can prevent us from even trying. Think about someone who wants to start their own business but never takes the first step because they fear it won't succeed. Or maybe a student who dreams of getting into a prestigious university but holds back because they're afraid of not meeting the rigorous standards. Research from the American Psychological Association shows that the fear of failure often leads people to set self-imposed limits, because the thought of failing can feel more painful than the potential rewards of trying. In this way, we limit ourselves to stay safe. Another reason we set limits is social comparison. We often look around and measure our progress against the success or lifestyles of others. This can lead to setting limits based on what we think is good enough or acceptable. Take social media, for example. Every day, we're exposed to curated highlights of other people's lives, success stories, vacations, perfect families, ideal jobs. While this can be motivating for some, for others, it can trigger feelings of inadequacy. We set limits for ourselves, thinking, I can't achieve that, or I'm not as good as they are. In fact, studies show that constant comparison to others can limit our ambition and personal growth. When we focus too much on others' standards, we end up stifling our own potential, thinking there's only one way to succeed. We all have comfort zones, those places or situations where we feel safe and in control. But while comfort zones help us feel secure, they can also limit our growth. Imagine you've been in the same job for years, and while you're competent, you feel unfulfilled. You dream of making a career change or starting something new, but the fear of the unknown keeps you from taking the leap. Psychologists say that we naturally gravitate toward the familiar because it feels safe. However, growth only happens outside of this zone. By avoiding discomfort, we limit ourselves from reaching our full potential. A significant barrier that leads us to set limits is a lack of self-belief. When we don't feel worthy or capable of success, we often hold ourselves back from even trying. Think of someone with big dreams of writing a book, but they never take action because they don't believe anyone would want to read their work. Or maybe it's someone who has the talent to start a YouTube channel but feels they're not interesting enough to succeed. A 2018 study in the Journal of Personality and Social Psychology found that low self-esteem is strongly correlated with self-imposed limitations. When we don't see our own worth, we unconsciously set barriers to protect ourselves from failure because in our minds, failure means we weren't good enough. Sometimes, the limits we set are shaped by past experiences. If we've failed before, especially in a significant way, we may convince ourselves that we're bound to fail again. This past conditioning becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy, where we avoid pushing ourselves because we fear history will repeat itself. For example, someone who tried to launch a business and failed may later hesitate to try again, believing they are incapable of success. Or perhaps someone who was rejected by a college might hold back from applying to another school, fearing more rejection. Past failures, while painful, don't define our future. But it takes courage to break free from these limiting beliefs and push forward. So, why do we set limits? It's a mix of fear, comparison, comfort, self-doubt, and past experiences. But the good news is, these limits aren't permanent. By recognizing where they come from, we can start to challenge them step by step. When we push beyond our self-imposed boundaries, we not only open up new possibilities, but we also discover a new level of confidence and potential we never knew existed.